I am stranded in space. I have been able to salvage what I can from my ship that brought me here and have been able to make this little platform as well as a small miner. I have also taken the time to source out all of the different materials necessary for survival and creation of every kind of unit in component that I will be needing. And I will be in the process of making myself a station where I can walk around without my helmet on and create other wonderful items, as well as explore some more. But to save some time, I am going to make a building and welding ship. The advantages to a building and welding ship is one, I do not have to constantly come over here and resupply myself with oxygen and energy. And I will be able to carry more and weld stuff a lot faster. So, to begin with a ship of this kind, I am going to add a landing gear. This allows the ship to stay fastened to the platform. Looks a little bit wumperjawed, but that's okay. It will stay fixed to the platform and we won't have to worry about knocking it around and having it fly away from us. Next, I will put some small armor blocks down as a sort of platform to start sticking all of my other things on top of it. And now we will go down the checklist of what we need for this ship. So for the first thing we need is function. And to do that, we will need a large conveyor system to our cockpit, as well as to our welder. So I will put a junction down, and I will make sure that a large access point is to the top, the back, and forward. And I will weld that up to make sure that I can see those access points. Second, I will need a curved conveyor tube pointing up. This will allow me to get to the cockpit, as the utility cockpit has a large access point on the bottom. As you can see there. And you need a large access point at the bottom because some materials do not pass through the small conveyors. Now that we have that, I am going to add a medium cargo container to hold all of our necessary stuff. I will make sure both large conveyors are up and down so that I can place them together, as it does not allow a small conveyor access point does not hook up to a large conveyor access point. And there we have essentially the functionality of a building chip. The next thing we will need to do is place another curved tube on top and the welder, which also has a large access point. The welder will go there, and I will turn it so that it's like that. Make sure everything is lined up. And that's the functionality of my welder and my builder. So I will work on welding all of the components into this. Advantages of a welder is that it goes faster than your hand welder does, and can also weld several things simultaneously that are put together. So, putting a base together will be a lot faster than me standing around welding each individual block and having to come back for energy. So now that we have that, the next thing on our list is oxygen. I want to be able to use more than just my suit to breathe while in here. So we will add another conveyor junction. Again, making sure that we have a large access point on the top, front and back. And then we will add an oxygen tank. While we are here, we are also going to get some small reactors for power, a battery for power, and a connector so that we can hook it up to our station. So, first is the oxygen tank. The oxygen tank has two small access points on one side and one large one on the other. So we will put the large on the large, and while I weld this up, we will be able to store oxygen in the tank. This will also allow us to fill up our fuel, oxygen, our oxygen in our suit when we're in the cockpit. So it says we need some large steel tubes. So we will go get those. And the red light means that they have no power, which now we will add some power to it. And in such, we will get our small reactors. Small reactors use uranium to power stuff. It is constant as long as you have fuel. So we don't have to worry about solar panels and recharging batteries all the time. The problem with small reactors is that it has one small access point, and that is the only way you can put uranium in. So unless you have it hooked up to a conveyor system already, you need another type of power. And that other type of power that I'm going to be adding is a battery. So this will be somewhat of a hybrid system. Hopefully using battery power first, and then using reactors when we need some more power and the battery is low. Now we will need some metal grids and reactor components.
Energy low.
and some construction components, as well as power cells. So let me recharge myself. Being in the freezing confines of space, your suit energy drops very quickly. But in a powered ship, you do not have that problem. So we will need power cells, which take up a large amount, and we will need reactor components. So let's put the power cells into... We need 3 reactor components for each. So I will get 6 of those. And we also need some construction components, so I will fill that up. And I need a couple of metal grids. So we will get 4 of those. I can only fit 3 at a time. Again, limitations of the suit, even if your inventory is to the maximum allowed in the game. So I will add another of those, and I will add... I cannot add any more power cells. I will add some more construction components, as you will need those often. It is yellow, which means it does not have any uranium in it. While we're at it, we will take some of the refined uranium. I will add 10 to my thing. And we will get the rest of the power cells we need. So we're going to rid ourselves, let's say 15 large tubes, so we have space. I'll put as many power as we can. Okay. That's more than we really need. So we will get this up. And this has power for a little bit. And we're going to access our medium cargo container, add the uranium, and it will start feeding into our reactors, giving us more power, and in turn recharging the batteries. So we have power to this system. Now we require a way to connect it to the base. So we will need to put a connector down. Now if we put a connector down like this, it is flush with the battery. But I want it a little offset from the battery, so that I'm not slamming the battery into something while I'm trying to connect the ship. So I am going to add a little conveyor frame which acts as a little spacer. Each one of these large ones equals each of these little spacers equal 1/3 of a large one. And it helps when you're trying to get these lined up with one that you have put together base. Now that we have that down, we will put our conveyor system, our connector on. And this will allow us to connect to our base, allowing us to put our materials in that we'll need, as well as fill up our reactors, fill up our oxygen, and recharge our batteries. So now we have to fly this around, and that requires thrusters. So we are going to be using ion thrusters because this is space. And while I'm at it, I am going to add gyroscopes, which is one of the things that is largely overlooked in a construction, and that is why I like to keep a list of what I need. And I will add a spotlight at some point in time and a camera. So I will put those there. Now, the hard limit on vanilla Space Engineers is 100 meters a second. You cannot fly faster than that. However, how fast you get to 100 meters a second depends on how much thrust you have. The larger the thrusters, the more thrust. The more you have, the faster you go. Also, you have to take weight into consideration. The more weight that you have, the more thrust you will need to move that weight around. To start out with, I will add 4 thrusters in the back to accelerate forward. And I will also add 4 thrusters in the front for reverse and also stopping. And generally, I add 2 in each of the other directions. So, 2 going down, 2 going up, but I want to try to even it out, so I am actually going to put 2 thrusters. Whoops. There. That. Is almost symmetrical. And I will put 2 going both. Ways. Side to side. So, up, down, back, forward, side to side. And each of these thrusters requires 1 thruster component. So I have 4, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So 16 thruster components. I can take that power cell out. And now I believe I have everything I need. So I'll add some more steel plate, just in case I need some more of that.
Energy low.
We will wait until my energy critical for leaving this.
Energy critical.
So there is my time to then recharge again. Oh, I'm so looking forward to a base. Get out of the freezing temperature and my energy will go down a lot slower. And now, make sure flying around I've gotten all of them. And so this will go forward and back quicker than up, down, and to each of the sides. But hopefully it will not be so sluggish. If it is, then I can always add some more thrusters to it. I'm also making sure that all the thrusters, if they are burning, aren't going to be hurting any of the parts of my ship, which they are not going to be. So that's good. Next, and very necessary, is my gyroscopes. Gyroscopes allow you to move and turn and twist. Instead of going straight up and down and not being able to make a lot of minute changes. And so if you find yourself not being able to move around very much, your gyroscopes are probably either damaged or you hadn't even put them on. The more gyroscopes you have, the more responsive your ship can be. I'm going to need a couple of large steel tubes. I am going to add 4 initially, as I am going to be weighed down with all the materials I'm going to use to build my station. And I I am almost out of interior plate, so we'll add some of that. And if I find that my ship is very sluggish, I will add more gyroscopes to it. Obviously, if you add too many, any slight correction might send your ship spinning around. So we have everything we need to make a ship. However, I want to add a few extra little things, a few little extra touches to it. The first thing is a spotlight. I need another large steel tube. Spotlight allows me to see in the dark. So when the sun isn't shining, I will be able to see what I'm welding. And I will also want to have a camera. Make sure that the little dot is in the back, is in the lower left-hand corner, just like the picture. That means the camera is straight up and down, and you will be looking at everything in the proper way instead of upside down or at a 90-degree angle. That camera will allow me to connect my connector to my base a lot easier. And there we have it. We have a ship that can build my station. I am not going to pretty it up by adding light armor to it, because the only knocks it's going to get is running into the station stuff, and that should damage it quite much, and I do not anticipate being attacked anytime soon. I have also on good authority that meteor showers that occasionally hit the system are not due for some time. So, we are going to connect this to the system. And so, we have two connections. I'm going to connect it here, so I'm going to go into my miner, press P to disable the connection. And I am going to fly it up here. Turn it straight up. Turn my camera on so I'm looking at it. Again, it is above the connector, so I want to make sure camera is there. And with the yellow light means I can connect it. I will connect it there. So, next, I will get into the cockpit of this. And before I do some other stuff, as I have 31 days of power left, I'm going to go into my control panel, and I am going to designate the battery, the camera. I'm going to copy it so I can paste it. The connector, the cargo container, and the 2 reactors, and the welder as being B and W. The next thing I am going to do is take all my ion thrusters and hide them, and I'm going to hide my gyroscopes so that I can focus on these things a lot more. Cockpit, since it's a storage device, I'm going to label it. Not going to worry about landing gear, except I'm going to take the auto dock off. And that is all I'm going to do in the control panel. Next, I'm going to press G. I'm going to take the battery and put it to recharge on and off, so I can recharge it while it's docked. I am going to take the camera. I'm going to put view on it so I can look behind me. And my welder, I am going to turn it on and off as well. And that, I believe, is everything I need. So, I will press P to unlock the landing gear. And fly it a little bit. Want to look around. Not able to look really up as the welder is in my way, but that shouldn't be too much trouble. Need to look out the back of my camera again. It's above. I want to make sure this is above, and you can kind of see the yellow, and I'm enabling it. If we go into our control panel, we can see everything else that's on this base. But we will look at the battery. The battery is starting to be recharged. It will take 10 hours. It's quicker if I put it on recharge, but it also drains all the other batteries a lot quicker. And the other thing that I am looking for, let me look here. Not seeing my oxygen tank. That is because I didn't put it there. So as you can see, it is filling rapidly. So once I get that all the way up, and my production is done except for gold, which I haven't mined any of. will get out. And there is a builder and welder. Finally, the last thing I'm going to do is get rid of all of that extra weight. While I'm here, I can just stick all this in there. And there we go. The next video I will be starting my station right up here. Also going to be adding a conveyor system to focus on the station. And so we will start doing that for a few videos. Again, if there is anything that you would like explained more, or would like to see me build, drop me a comment, and I will work through the queue as well as I can. So while we look at the Earth-like planet we have and the moon over here, I will say goodbye.